My name is Mahsa. I'm in the beginning of my fourth year PhD at TU Delft in transport and planning. My PhD is focusing on causal insights on road accidents, specifically on motorways accidents, car accidents on motorways. So we are really curious to understand what is the reasons behind an accident. So why accidents are happening, and then how the impact's gonna propagate within the network. Yeah, it was a very interesting and enjoyable time. Of course, it was a long course, 4 days. But then I also had a small role to prepare one of the knowledge capsules. So this idea of knowledge capsules was quite, I would say, new in my experience for attending courses at TU Delft, which I was also involved in preparing material. The idea of knowledge capsule was that different methods were described in a short time. But more importantly, we had this time to have some hands-on practices. The topic that my colleague and I focused on was using LLMs, so large language models, specifically in transportation domain. So LLMs is a very hot topic. We were so curious about it, but then how we can use that novel idea here in transportation was very enjoyable because I was taking a time to learn the topic first, and then using that topic in transportation domain was very enjoyable. And then we had this opportunity to share our experience and our knowledge to the group of audience. It made it even way more interesting because I love teaching, and I love to, I feel like when people are learning or they feel that they can implement the same method for their own research problems, it gets me extra excitement. So it went really well. So it was one of the very interesting moments, to be prepared and also share your experience with the audience. I would say it's also a challenge, but enjoyable challenge, because when we were preparing the material, we needed to make sure that the content is suitable for both groups, because we have some people in the audience that they are working with LLM, so their expertise is LLM, but we want them to think about it in transportation domain. And then we have some people that they do not have much, like, let's say, AI backgrounds, but we want them also to get the insight how LLMs can help them. So it was a bit of challenge to keep this balance between these two people that they are expert in AI or expert in their field, which is transportation. But I feel like it went well. Because at the end of the course, I was really hearing some interesting feedback from both my colleagues and then from practitioners that they enjoyed it. And the most important part about knowledge capsules was that in the first part, we gave a brief overview of the method, how the method works, which I think is very important for everybody to know because LLMs these days is like a hot topic. But the second half of the part was about getting hands-on practices. So how exactly we can use LLMs in transportation. So our case study was also using transformers for predicting the pedestrian flow, which is also a very hot topic in transportation domain, but then how using transformer, which is a part of LLMs in that specific field, was really enjoyable. And then I feel like at the end, both groups get some insights, both transportation practitioners, that how they can use these AI techniques in transportation, and both for like people with expertise in data science and AI, how they can use these methods specifically for transportation. At the end, it went well. One of the very interesting parts in this course, which I would say also it was a new idea among the courses that I took before, it was the idea of knowledge capsule. So the idea of the knowledge capsule was going through different recent AI techniques, but in a brief overview, giving a brief overview to audience, and then in the second half to get some hands-on practices. The most important part about this, we didn't have time, of course, to dive into very specific and detailed information about the method, but the idea was more to get an insight how this method works and why and how we can use it specifically in transportation. The very interesting part was that for myself as a participant, it was really nice to see my colleagues are working on different topics, but we are all working on different domains in transportation. It was really nice that I could have even, during the lectures, I could have also think, oh, how can this method give me a new insight about my PhD or my research question? That was one part. And the other part was also for myself that I was also preparing one of the knowledge capsules, but was specifically about using LLMs. So both as an audience and both as and also as a participant, it was really insightful. And I felt like also it was very interesting for practitioners from industry because they got to know an overview of these recent techniques and methods, and then how and why they can use it in transportation domain. So getting a broad idea and then also getting some hands-on practices at how they can use it in practice was very interesting. I would say very novel idea of this course that we got to know about different topics and then how to use them in practice. One other aspect of knowledge capsules that I found it very useful was that it get into some collaborations, because during the course I got to know, okay, different people are using different methods. So I can, of course, later get back to them for solving my problems with that perspective or starting some collaborations. And this also comes from the industry. So they also got to know, okay, what topics we are focusing on. They can come to us with their problems, with their challenges, so we can come up with some solutions for them. And one other interesting part about this knowledge capsule was because they were mainly taught by PhD students that they are using that method in their research. It was really like a practice. I mean, these people are really involved in their daily PhD with those methods, which made it very realistic. So they even taught us about what are the challenges, why we shouldn't use that, why we should use that. So this is it's not like watching a YouTube video about that method. It's like they're really daily working with that method. So it make it more tangible for us to understand as a participant. And it hopefully can end to collaborations between both researchers and practitioners from industry.